Solitude is not the absence of people. It's the presence of yourself. Carl Jung revealed that our greatest fear isn't being alone, but discovering who we really are in the silence. From wherever you're watching me right now, alone or surrounded by others, I want you to comment below and tell me, where are you watching from? I genuinely want to know you. Right now, as you hear these words, notice something. Are you comfortable with the silence that might come after this video ends? Or do you immediately reach for your phone, turn on another video, call someone, anything to avoid being alone with your thoughts? If you're honest with yourself, and I mean brutally honest, you'll realize that most of us are terrified of our own company. Jung understood something profound about human nature that most of us refuse to acknowledge. We've become addicted to noise, to constant stimulation, to the presence of others. Not because we love connection, but because we're running from something much deeper. We're running from ourselves. We're running from the uncomfortable truths that only emerge when the world goes quiet and we're left face to face with our own soul. Think about the last time you were truly alone. Not just physically alone, but mentally alone. No phone, no music, no podcast, no book, nothing but you and your thoughts. How long did it last? 5 minutes, 10? Or did you panic and immediately find something, anything, to fill that terrifying void? Comment below and tell me honestly, how long can you sit with yourself without any distractions? This isn't about judging you. This is about understanding something that Jung spent his entire life studying. The modern world has created a prison we don't even recognize. We've convinced ourselves that being constantly connected, constantly busy, constantly surrounded by noise is living. But Jung would tell you that this isn't living at all. This is avoiding life. Every notification that pings on your phone, every conversation you start just to fill silence, every time you turn on the TV, the moment you walk into an empty room, you're making a choice. You're choosing to remain a stranger to yourself. You're choosing to live on the surface of your own existence, never diving deep enough to discover the treasures hidden in the depths of your soul. But here's what Jung discovered, and what I want you to understand today. That fear you feel when you're alone, that discomfort that makes you reach for distractions, that's not weakness. That's not something wrong with you. That's your soul trying to get your attention. That's your authentic self, buried under years of social conditioning and expectations, desperately trying to speak to you. The anxiety you feel in solitude isn't random. It's intelligent. It's your psyche telling you that there are parts of yourself you haven't met yet. There are dreams you've ignored, feelings you've suppressed, truths you've been avoiding. Your discomfort with being alone is actually a compass, pointing toward everything you need to heal and integrate to become whole. Jung called this the process of individuation, but I want you to think of it differently. Think of it as coming home to yourself. Every moment you spend running from solitude is a moment you spend homeless in your own life, living in other people's expectations, other people's definitions of who you should be, other people's dreams for your life. You see, we live in a culture that has convinced us that our worth comes from external validation. How many likes did you get? How many people want to spend time with you? How busy is your social calendar? But Jung understood that this is exactly backwards. Your worth doesn't come from how much others approve of you. Your worth comes from how deeply you know and accept yourself. When you're afraid of being alone, you're actually afraid of meeting the person you really are, beneath all the masks you wear. You're afraid of discovering that maybe you don't like the job everyone thinks you should love. Maybe you don't want the relationship everyone says you need. Maybe your dreams are different from what your family expects. Maybe you're more sensitive, more creative, more spiritual, more rebellious than you've allowed yourself to be. But here's the beautiful paradox Jung discovered. The very solitude you're avoiding is the key to the freedom you're seeking. The silence you fear contains the voice you've been waiting your whole life to hear. Your own voice, not the voice of your parents, your friends, your culture, your social media feed, your voice. Have you ever noticed that your best ideas come when you're alone, when you're in the shower, walking in nature, lying in bed before sleep? That's not coincidence. That's your authentic self, finally getting a moment to speak without all the external noise drowning it out. Your soul is always trying to communicate with you, but it can only whisper. and whispers can only be heard in silence. Jung had a saying that changed everything for me, and I believe it will change everything for you too. He said, "Who looks outside dreams, who looks within awakens." Think about that for a moment. Most of us spend our entire lives looking outside ourselves for happiness, for meaning, for love, for validation. We dream that the next relationship will complete us, that the next job will fulfill us, that the next achievement will finally make us feel worthy. But Jung understood that this is the great illusion. Everything you're seeking outside already exists within you. The love you're looking for in others, you must first give it to yourself. The approval you're craving from the world, you must first approve of who you are. The peace you're trying to find in external circumstances, it can only be found in the quiet spaces of your own heart. I want you to try something right now, and then come back to the comments and tell me what happened. Tonight, before you go to sleep, spend just 10 minutes alone with your thoughts. No phone, no book, no music. Just you and the silence. Sit with whatever comes up. Don't judge it, don't fix it, just observe it. Then come back here and tell me what you discovered about yourself. I'm genuinely curious about your experience. You see, when you're constantly surrounded by other people's energy, other people's opinions, other people's emotions, you lose track of what belongs to you. You start living someone else's life without even realizing it. You adopt beliefs that aren't yours, pursue goals that don't fulfill you, suppress parts of yourself that don't fit other people's expectations of who you should be. But in solitude, something magical happens. The noise fades away, and for the first time you can hear your own heartbeat. You can feel your own emotions without wondering if they're appropriate. You can think your own thoughts without immediately censoring them. You can dream your own dreams without worrying if they make sense to anyone else. This is where Jung's second profound insight comes in. He discovered that solitude is where you find your authentic voice. Not the voice you use at work to please your boss. Not the voice you use with your family to keep peace. Not the voice you use on social media to get likes. Your real voice. The voice that tells the truth about what you really want, what you really feel, what you really believe. Most people never hear this voice because they're too afraid to be alone long enough to listen. They fill every quiet moment with external input. Podcasts while walking, music while cooking, Netflix while falling asleep. But your authentic voice can only emerge in silence, in solitude, in those precious moments when you're not performing for anyone else. I remember the first time I really heard my own voice. I was sitting alone in my apartment. No distractions, just me and the quiet. At first it was uncomfortable. My mind was racing, trying to find something to focus on, something to do. But I stayed with it. And slowly, underneath all the mental chatter, I heard something I hadn't heard in years. My own truth speaking to me. It told me things I didn't want to admit, that I was living to please others instead of myself, that I was pursuing dreams that belonged to someone else, that I was hiding parts of myself because I was afraid they wouldn't be accepted. It was painful, but it was also liberating. For the first time in my life, I was having an honest conversation with myself. Your authentic voice might tell you that you need to leave a relationship that's draining your soul. It might tell you that the career everyone thinks is perfect for you is slowly killing your spirit. It might tell you that you have creative gifts you've been ignoring, spiritual longings you've been suppressing, or dreams you've been dismissing as unrealistic. Whatever your authentic voice tells you, I want you to know that it's valid. It's real. It's the part of you that knows who you really are beneath all the conditioning, all the expectations, all the shoulds and musts that have been placed on you by others. But here's what I've learned, and what Jung understood deeply. Finding your authentic voice is just the beginning. The real challenge is having the courage to live from that voice, to make decisions based on your own truth rather than other people's expectations. And that requires spending regular time in solitude, regularly checking in with yourself, regularly asking, what do I really want? What do I really feel? What is my truth in this moment? Tell me in the comments, when was the last time you made a decision based purely on what felt right to you, without considering what others would think? When was the last time you honored your authentic voice over the voice of social expectations? I'd love to hear your story. The third thing Jung discovered about solitude will probably surprise you. He realized that silence is the womb of wisdom. Think about that metaphor. A womb is where life is created, where something grows in darkness. Earn quiet until it's ready to be born. Your wisdom, your insights, your most creative ideas, your solutions to life's biggest challenges, they all need that same environment to develop. How many times have you struggled with a problem, talked about it with everyone, researched it online, stressed about it for days, only to have the perfect solution come to you in a moment of quiet, maybe while you were taking a shower or walking alone or just before falling asleep? That's not coincidence. That's your inner wisdom finally getting the space it needs to emerge. We live in a world that has declared war on silence. Every elevator has music, every restaurant has background noise, every car ride is filled with radio or podcasts. We've become so uncomfortable with quiet that we've forgotten its power. But Jung knew something that our modern world has forgotten. Silence isn't empty. Silence is full of answers. Your best decisions, your most creative breakthroughs, your deepest insights about relationships, career, and life purpose, they don't come from endless analysis or seeking advice from others. They come from sitting quietly with a question and allowing the answer to emerge from the depths of your own knowing. But this requires patience, and it requires comfort with not knowing immediately. I want you to try something this week. Pick one problem or decision you're currently struggling with. Instead of talking about it with friends, instead of researching it online, instead of making pro and con lists, try this. Sit alone for 20 minutes, hold the question gently in your mind, and just wait. Don't force an answer. Don't analyze. Just be present with the question and see what emerges. Then come back here and share what happened. Did an answer come? Did you gain a new perspective? I'm genuinely curious about your experience with this. The fourth insight Jung had about solitude is perhaps the most transformative of all. He understood that accepting your solitude is accepting your completeness. This is radical in a culture that tells us we're only half a person until we find our other half. Jung would say that's not just wrong, it's dangerous. It keeps us in a state of spiritual poverty, always seeking outside ourselves for what we already possess. When you're comfortable, being alone, you discover something extraordinary. You don't need another person to complete you. You don't need external validation to feel worthy. You don't need constant stimulation to feel alive. You are already whole. You are already enough. You are already complete. This doesn't mean you don't want relationships or connection. It means you enter relationships from a place of wholeness rather than neediness. You connect with others because you choose to, not because you're trying to fill a void inside yourself. You love others because you have love to give, not because you need them to make you feel lovable. Think about the relationships in your life, right now. How many of them are based on mutual wholeness, where two complete people choose to share their lives? And how many are based on codependency, where two people are trying to use each other to feel complete? The difference is profound, and it starts with your relationship with solitude. When you're afraid to be alone, you'll stay in relationships that don't serve you. You'll accept treatment that diminishes you. You'll compromise your authentic self to avoid being alone. But when you've learned to enjoy your own company, when you've discovered the richness of your inner world, you'll never again settle for relationships that require you to abandon yourself. I want you to think about this honestly. How do you feel when you're alone? Anxious, restless, sad? Or do you feel peaceful, creative, connected to yourself? Your answer reveals everything about your relationship with yourself, and your relationship with yourself determines the quality of every other relationship in your life. If being alone makes you anxious, you're likely depending on others to regulate your emotions. If being alone makes you restless, you're likely avoiding some uncomfortable truths about your life. If being alone makes you sad, you're likely grieving the person you think you should be, instead of embracing who you actually are. But if being alone brings you peace, you've discovered one of life's greatest treasures. You've found your center, your home base, the place you can always return to for wisdom, creativity, and renewal. You've become your own best friend, your own wise counselor, your own source of love and acceptance. Jung had another profound insight about what happens when we embrace solitude. He said that in our aloneness, we discover we're never truly alone. This sounds like a paradox, but it's actually a spiritual truth that mystics from every tradition have understood. When you go deep enough into yourself, when you move past the Surface layers of personality and conditioning, you touch something universal. In the deepest places of your solitude, you connect with the part of yourself that's connected to all of life. You realize that the same consciousness that looks out through your eyes looks out through every living being. You understand that your struggles, your joys, your fears, your dreams are not unique to you. They're part of the human experience. That connects you to everyone who has ever lived. This is why spending time alone doesn't make you selfish or antisocial. It makes you more compassionate, more understanding, more able to connect authentically with others. When you know yourself deeply, you can recognize yourself in others. When you've faced your own shadows with compassion, you can meet others' shadows with understanding. But this kind of deep solitude requires courage. It requires facing parts of yourself you might prefer to ignore. It requires sitting with emotions you'd rather avoid. It requires confronting questions you'd rather leave unanswered. Most people choose the superficial connection of constant social interaction over the profound connection that comes from deep self-knowledge. Here's what I want you to understand. Every moment you spend running from yourself is a moment you spend disconnected from your own power, your own wisdom, your own capacity for joy. Every distraction you choose over solitude is a choice to remain a stranger to the most important person in your life. You. The path to becoming who you're meant to be doesn't go through other people's approval. It doesn't go through achievements or acquisitions. It goes through the willingness to sit alone with yourself, to listen to what your soul is trying to tell you, to honor the truth that emerges in silence. Now I want to share with you the fifth, and perhaps most powerful truth Jung discovered about solitude. He realized that solitude is not isolation. There's a crucial difference that most people miss, and understanding this difference will transform how you relate to being alone forever. Isolation is being cut off from others because you're afraid, hurt, or angry. Solitude is choosing to be with yourself because you recognize the value of that relationship. When you isolate, you're running away from the world. When you choose solitude, you're running toward yourself. Isolation feels empty and painful. Solitude feels rich and nourishing. Isolation leaves you feeling disconnected from life. Solitude connects you more deeply to everything that matters. The person who fears solitude will often end up in isolation, surrounded by people but feeling utterly alone. They'll be at parties feeling invisible, in relationships feeling unknown, in crowds feeling disconnected. But the person who embraces solitude will never be lonely, even when they're alone, because they've learned to enjoy the most constant companion they'll ever have, themselves. I want you to think about the quality of your alone time. When you're by yourself, are you anxiously waiting for it to end, filling it with distractions, counting the minutes until you can be around others again? Or are you savoring it, using it for reflection, creativity, and connecting with your deeper self? The difference reveals whether you're experiencing isolation or true solitude. Here's something practical I want you to try this week, and I want you to come back and tell me how it went. Schedule 1 hour of intentional solitude. Not just being physically alone, but being mentally and emotionally present with yourself. No phone, no TV, no book, no music. Just you. Use this time to have a conversation with yourself about your life. Ask yourself questions like, what do I really want? What am I avoiding? What dreams have I put on hold? What would I do if I weren't afraid of what others might think? This might feel awkward at first. Most of us haven't had a real conversation with ourselves in years. We've become strangers to our own inner world. But I promise you, if you stay with this practice, you'll discover things about yourself that will surprise you. You'll remember dreams you forgot you had. You'll recognize patterns you didn't know you were stuck in. You'll hear the voice of your authentic self speaking truths you need to hear. Jung understood that this kind of self-dialogue is not selfish or self-indulgent. It's essential for psychological health and spiritual growth. How can you make good decisions about your life if you don't know what you really want? How can you have healthy relationships if you don't know who you really are? How can you contribute your unique gifts to the world if you've never taken the time to discover what those gifts are? The most successful, creative, and fulfilled people I know all have one thing in common. They have a regular practice of solitude. They've learned to use alone time not as something to endure, but as something to treasure. They use it for thinking, for dreaming, for processing their experiences, for connecting with their deepest values and desires. But here's what Jung also understood about solitude. It's not about becoming a hermit or avoiding human connection. It's about becoming so comfortable with yourself that you can be fully present with others. When you're not running from yourself, you don't need to use other people as distractions. When you know who you are, you can show up authentically in relationships. When you've faced your own shadows, you're not projecting them onto everyone around you. The goal of embracing solitude is not to need less connection with others. It's to create better connections. When you're comfortable being alone, you choose relationships based on genuine compatibility rather than desperation. You can be yourself with others because you know who you are. You can give love freely because you're not trying to get it to fill a void inside yourself. Think about the people in your life who seem most centered, most at peace, most authentic. I guarantee you, they're comfortable with solitude. They've learned to be their own best friend, their own wise counselor, their own source of comfort and strength. This doesn't make them cold or distant. It makes them warmer and more present because they're not using you to escape from themselves. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. But I'm an extrovert. I get energy from being around people. Doesn't this advice contradict my natural personality? Jung would say that both introverts and extroverts need solitude, but they might use it differently. Extroverts might use solitude to process all the external stimulation they've absorbed. Introverts might use it to recharge and reconnect with their inner world, but everyone needs regular time alone with themselves to stay centered and authentic. The question isn't whether you're an introvert or extrovert. The question is whether you're comfortable enough with yourself to be alone without anxiety, distraction, or the desperate need for external validation. Can you sit with your own thoughts without judgment? Can you feel your own emotions without immediately trying to change them? Can you be in your own presence without feeling like you need to be somewhere else or someone else? Here's another practice I want you to try, and again, please come back and share your experience. The next time you feel lonely, instead of immediately reaching out to someone or turning on entertainment, try sitting with that loneliness for a few minutes. Breathe with it, feel it fully, ask it what it's trying to tell you. You might discover that what you think is loneliness is actually a longing for deeper connection with yourself. You might find that the cure for loneliness isn't always more people, but more authenticity, more self-acceptance, more willingness to be vulnerable and real. As we reach the end of our journey together today, I want you to understand something profound that Jung discovered in his decades of studying the human psyche. The relationship you have with solitude is the foundation of every other relationship in your life. If you can't be alone without anxiety, you'll never be truly present with others. If you can't enjoy your own company, you'll always be performing for someone else's approval. If you can't find peace in silence, you'll always be running from the very insights that could transform your life. But here's the beautiful truth that I want to leave you with today. You already have everything you need within you. The love you're seeking, the wisdom you're craving, the peace you're longing for, it's all there, waiting for you in the quiet spaces of your own heart. You don't need to become someone else to be worthy of love. You don't need to achieve something extraordinary to be valuable. You don't need to fix yourself to be whole. You are already complete, already enough, already worthy of the life you dream of living. The practice of solitude isn't about becoming perfect. It's about becoming real. It's about stripping away all the masks you wear, all the roles you play, all the expectations you try to meet, and discovering the authentic person underneath. And that person, the real you, is far more beautiful, far more powerful, far more capable of love and joy than any version of yourself you could ever create to please others. Jung had one more insight that I think will change how you see your journey from this day forward. He said, "The meeting with oneself is, at first, the meeting with one's own shadow." This might sound ominous, but it's actually hopeful. It means that the parts of yourself you've been avoiding, the emotions you've been suppressing, the dreams you've been denying, they're not your enemies. They're aspects of yourself that have been waiting patiently for you to acknowledge them, to integrate them, to make peace with them. When you sit in solitude and uncomfortable feelings arise, that's not a sign that you're doing something wrong. That's a sign that you're finally doing something right. You're finally willing to meet all of yourself, not just the parts that are easy to accept. You're finally ready to heal the split between who you think you should be and who you actually are. This is the path to wholeness, and it's not always comfortable, but it's always worthwhile. Every moment you spend in honest self-reflection, every feeling you allow yourself to experience fully, every truth you acknowledge about your desires and fears, you're reclaiming another piece of your authentic self. You're coming home to who you really are. I want you to know that you're not alone on this journey. Everyone who has ever lived has had to face the choice between remaining a stranger to themselves or having the courage to meet themselves fully. The difference between people who live authentic, fulfilling lives and those who live in quiet desperation is simply this: the willingness to spend time alone, to listen to their own voice, to honor their own truth. Your solitude is not selfish. It's sacred. It's where you go to remember who you are beneath all the conditioning, all the expectations, all the noise of the world. It's where you go to connect with your deepest values, your truest desires, your most authentic self. It's where you go to find the courage to live from your own center rather than from other people's opinions. And here's what I've learned from my own journey with solitude, and what I see in everyone who embraces this path. The more comfortable you become with being alone, the more you have to offer others. The more you know yourself, the more you can truly see others. The more you accept your own shadows, the more compassion you have for others' struggles. The more you find peace within yourself, the more peace you bring to every relationship and every situation. So I want to leave you with this invitation. Tonight, before you go to sleep, spend just 5 minutes in complete silence with yourself. No agenda, no goals, no expectations. Just be present with whatever is alive in you in this moment. Your thoughts, your feelings, your dreams, your fears. Don't try to change anything. Just be with yourself with the same kindness and acceptance you would offer a dear friend. If you're feeling scared about this journey, that's okay. Fear is often a sign that you're moving in the right direction. If you're feeling excited, that's beautiful. Your soul recognizes the truth of what we've been exploring together. If you're feeling skeptical, that's fine too. You don't have to take my word for anything. Try it for yourself and see what you discover. What I know for certain is this: you have within you everything you need to live a life of meaning, purpose, and joy. You have within you wisdom that no book can teach you, love that no person can give you, and peace that no external circumstance can provide. But you can only access these treasures through the doorway of solitude, through the willingness to be present with yourself exactly as you are. Your journey of self-discovery doesn't end when this video ends. It begins. Every moment you choose authenticity over approval. Every time you listen to your own voice over the noise of the world, every breath you take in conscious solitude, you're walking the path that leads to true freedom. You're not alone in this journey of becoming who you're meant to be. If you found value in what we've explored together today, please subscribe and ring the notification bell so we can continue this conversation. Share your experiences in the comments below. Tell me what you discovered about yourself in solitude. I read every comment, and I'm genuinely interested in your journey. Remember, your transformation begins the moment you stop running from yourself and start running toward yourself. The person you've been looking for your whole life is waiting for you in the silence. All you have to do is be brave enough to listen,